to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to another Retro Rumours segment where we're going to look back on Everton transfer rumours of yesteryear. We've got a few to get through. I'm joined by Terry and Owen for this one, and first of all, we're going to start with someone who's been heavily linked to the noisy neighbours this week, and that is goalkeeper Jack Butland, once touted as England's number one. Very much not the case nowadays, but back in January 2012, you were linked with Jack Butland when he was playing for Birmingham. He ended up actually getting selected in Roy Hodgson's Euro squad for Euro 2012, but at this point he'd barely been heard of. Very promising young keeper at Birmingham, and we were linked with him under David Moyes. Do you remember much about this one, Terry?
Yeah, I remember being linked with him, but Birmingham, you know, as you can imagine, wanted massive money for him, and it was when we would have a mind not to be paying massive money for any player, never mind a goalkeeper. I was about to say he was a bullet dodged because he is absolutely pony, but we didn't really dodge the bullet because we got the more upmarket one in Pickford, didn't we? We got the same player with a different name, but he's even worse than Pickford. Like he's doing all these stupid mistakes and letting goals go through him in the Championship now with Stoke. It's a weird career he's had as well because he was prized, you know, very highly at one point in his career, and he shouldn't have ever went to Stoke. I think it was a mistake to go to Stoke. And he also stayed at Stoke. I know it wasn't as simple as he stayed. You know, he might not have had the offers in that suited Stoke at the time, but now his stock has just fell so dramatically that, like, timing's everything in football. So now, at one point, it would have been a coveted, high-priced goalkeeper. You know, probably couldn't give them away now. Look, put it this way, he might be going on loan somewhere in this little window to a Premier League club, probably as cover for their actual keeper, the same way Joe Hart's gone to it.
That's it. It's Liverpool. This is where the links come from.
They won't get him. I'll be amazed if they do. He's worse than Adrian. And they're not going to do that.
You know what, though? I think Jack Butland could be brilliant for Liverpool, you know, as long as he has a couple of inhalers on him.
It'd be brilliant at Liverpool for us if he plays against us. Now that I've said that, he'll sign and have a worldie against us, but he's worse than Adrian. He's absolutely shite. There is no way that they're going to get him.
He's worse than me, and I can't even just about put good and holy gloves on. Absolutely terrible. I mean, that game when we played Stoke, when we were under Allardyce, he was just literally flapping at everything. I was thinking, Jesus Christ, thank God. I was thinking, thank God we've got Pickford. Because, yeah.
Famous last words.
That was the infamous Allardyce game where he was on the touchline with his hood up in the snow, and he was licking the snuff from under the top lip. He was his nose was like dribbling from the cold, and he was licking it, and the cameras caught it, and it was just like I remember sitting there thinking, that's our manager. Liverpool at the time had Jurgen Klopp, who was doing bits for them, and you know he's obviously gone on to do even better. But it's like they had him, and we're doing dead well, and we had Sam Allardyce with Sammy Lee, and I like Sammy Lee from just meeting him in person. I think he's an alright fella, but I just thought this is depressing. When the two management team we've got, I prefer Sammy Lee out the two. It's like Allardyce is just standing on the touchline with his hood up, licking his top lip with snot on it, and he's got those brown shoes on with bright red socks, just like, oh, what is going on?
Game. And it was capped off by Jack Butland's goalkeeping performance and Paul Lambert's 1922 football of just kicking everyone, and Charlie Adam just choosing to get sent off. But we won, and then people thought Toast was a capable.
deliberately got sent off, didn't he, Charlie Adams?
He looked around that pitch that day and thought, no, I just don't want to be here. I'd rather be in there at 4.
That was horrible, that, wasn't it? I'm not even talking about the play anymore, but that was so grim that Tosin was our best player at that point.
Yeah, it was just, it was absolutely freezing as well. The two managers just didn't even want to be there. I don't think the fans didn't want to be there. It just called the game off, why don't you? But no, Jack Butland's goalkeeping performance that day.
That was right in the middle of that, like, delete club era, that wasn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. It was just every single time Allardyce was in front of a camera, he was sending Twitter into meltdown because he'd say something else fucking stupid or he'd do something else. Everyone knew he was deliberately pissing off the supporters because he'd done the same.
No, that was after the game where he said we were an enthralling team to watch because Tosun got 2 late goals. I love that game.
Everyone knew he was deliberately winding the supporters up because he admitted in his book that he did it to the West Ham fans who didn't like him, didn't he? But it didn't make it any less annoying when he was doing it. And I was falling for it every week. I was ranting and raving on Twitter every time he got in front of a camera because he just speak this absolute fucking nonsense that, like, you know, deny reality. He'd like twist what happens into being this bullshit version of the reality and thinks anyone's going to buy it.
I don't know what we're talking about.
He'd do it though. He'd play out the shittest game you've ever seen, and then he'd go on telly and go in front of the cameras and go, "It was a great game. We played dead well. He was great." And you'd be like, "I've just watched it, mate. We weren't." And then all his mates in the media would turn around and go, "Well, yeah, it was great. What he's all moaning about." Like, it just goes to show that narrative. Everyone who says narratives in football, and you get people who scoff, going, "There's no narrative," because everyone's version of a narrative is media or something hates our club, no matter who it is. I've heard Man United fans say the media hate them.
Man United fans cannot. Even Liverpool fans at times can go, well, maybe, but Manchester United.
Well, Liverpool fans do think the media hates them, or they did. They might not now, but like they did at one point. Now they're just like, you just can't see it. But for me, the crystallised version, the like event of narratives existing in football was when Allardyce was at Everton. All the media and the press moved heaven and earth to present this bollocks version of events to, like, you know, this phony version of events just to have flattered Allardyce because all the journalists, all the pundits, they all knew him and they all liked him. And the fact that Everton fans didn't like him and he wasn't in the bottom, like, 5, they were like, what more did he want? They've got a brass neck moaning about it, you know, Garth Crooks and all that. This was just right in the middle of this game. I know we've gone off Butland massively, but I used to hate it. He would literally take a massive shit on your plate at the dinner table, and then everyone else in the room going, "Look at that cheeseburger, isn't that lovely?" It's like, does no one else see this? Like, there's no one else like. Oh.
On that note, so we will ask what more do Everton fans want? Well, apparently back in January 2015, what more did Everton fans want than Ali Al-Habsi from Wigan Athletic? Because that's what we're moving on to. Back in the days of Roberto Martinez signing the entire Wigan team, apparently Ali Al-Habsi was set to join us. So yeah, of course, we were struggling at this point, I think, under Roberto Martinez. This was around the time when the wheels were starting to fall off the Martinez wagon, and we were struggling. Tim Howard wasn't necessarily playing well. He had an injury. Robles was standing in. I think we needed some goalkeeping cover, so why not go back to Wigan and sign another rubbish player? And that was apparently the order of the day back in January 2015 when Roberto Martinez was expected to go back in for the Oman international goalkeeper. Owen, do you remember us being linked with Ali Al-Habsi?
To be honest, no, I don't remember the links happening, but I remember Tim Howard being absolutely dreadful, so I think any of us could have gone and goal and we wouldn't have been any worse than him. Even Joel Rob, no, even Joel Robles. I think Ali Al-Habsi. Yeah, even Joel Robles, no, he wouldn't have been better because he was bad too. Ali Al-Habsi was that match of the day goalkeeper that when Wigan had them late surges at the end of the season under Martinez, he would look brilliant when he won away at Arsenal or Liverpool and he'd make 24 saves. But he wouldn't show you the times he dropped 3 in his net in the same week on Match of the Day. He played Norwich or Bolton their own, and he left Martinez and Wigan down. So, to be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of his. I'm still not in retrospect. I think, obviously, he would have been a cheap deal, but I think we did well to avoid Ali Al-Habsi and his blunders in goal.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the few bullets we dodged under Martinez in the era of Alcaraz coming in and the likes of Nias. that followed later down the line.
People forget Atsu and what a dreadful loan signing that was. He was supposed to replace De La Feu. He was supposed to replace De La Feu. In another life, we could be talking about Christian Atsu as God, that terrible Newcastle winger we could have brought in on loan, but we did it, and he must have played about 4 games.
He was absolutely donkey, wasn't he? Like just absolutely chronic, wasn't he? I was excited because I was proper high on Martinez fumes the summer we got him, because the season before we'd been outstanding. We'd been finished 5th. It was Martinez's first season, and I think I'd have let him shag my wife or anything at that point. So he brought in another loan player, and it was like, well, it's Bobby, innit? You got to trust it. He knows a player, and then you soon realise in the second season he doesn't. Not a player.
Yeah,
I was so angry back then. I remember once we played Kiev in the Europa League, and from that moment, once he played Alcaraz and Atsu, I wanted them gone that night. Martinez, I had none of them.
Yeah, that was like, I remember how bad Atsu was in that game. Alcaraz took the limelight for being awful, but Atsu was terrible in that game.
And so could have Al-Habsi, but we didn't get to see.
But we didn't get to see him. Now for one that I think we're all a lot more upset that we didn't get, but we're going back to the summer of 2009 when we didn't have a pot to piss in, let's be honest. But we could have gone for a 1.5 million signing of an 18-year-old Belgian star called Kevin De Bruyne. This is something that, again, I wasn't actually aware that this was a thing back in 2009. And by God, we were linked with some random players. That's all I remember. That's somewhere very well. But De Bruyne is a name that I didn't know we were after in 2009. But, Terry, could you have seen this working out? If we'd have got him, would have been the career trajectory we'd have seen, but De Bruyne have spent 10 years here and become, the best midfielder in the world playing for David Moyes and Everton.
Absolutely not. You've got it in one there. He'd have been playing for David Moyes. Even back then, David Moyes' stock was, much higher than it is now. But he wouldn't have known what to do with De Bruyne. That summer, I remember it quite well myself. It was after the FA Cup final, wasn't it? We had that little splurge after selling Lescott, so we got Distan, Billy Letonov, Heitinger, someone else, Joe, maybe, yeah. But at that point, Moyes wouldn't have brought in an 18-year-old and played him. He'd have played him in the reserves or in the 23s, whichever it was then. And he would have probably done what like Mustafi and Eric Dyer and people like that did. He'd have probably left without really making an impact at Everton, and then he'd have gone on to be the player he's become now. Because,
effectively what De Bruyne did at Chelsea.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have fit at that time because he wasn't as good as he is now at 18, and Moyes was not the type to nurture players like that. If you don't run, you don't play, and I don't think that's De Bruyne's game where we just run. So I don't remember that, but obviously will have been a link, but it would have been nice, wouldn't it? In a different timeline, that deal comes off, and now we've won the lot several times.
But on the other hand, we have this like one where De Bruyne plays for Chelsea, plays for us the way he played for Chelsea. He doesn't really stake a claim. He moves on and he comes back and does bits for Man City, and we're like, why do you do that here?
I know. Well, chalk that up with the list of players we could have got and should have got, but got an absolute donkey instead, because we probably got Billy Letonov over him, and remember we got Funes Mori when we should have had Van Dijk.
Oh God!
Got Nias instead of Dembele, the one who's at Lyon, Moussa Dembele.
Right, yeah.
People, honestly, I know it's going off topic here, but we're talking about recruitment. People give Steve Walsh pelters for his recruitment. Roberto Martinez's recruitment after that first season was absolutely terrible. He literally picked the worst donkeys on the planet and put them in Everton. Atsu, Nias, Aidan McGeady. We haven't even talked about the worst winger of all time.
Yeah, crap. Honestly, I don't think he brought in
that first half against Barnsley.
He had a stellar first summer, and then every single player after that was absolutely shite.
His first summer was only stellar on deadline day. It was De La Feu who come in and done well.
Yeah.
It was that Alcaraz, Kone, and Joe Roberts.
90% of the signings were nonsense.
Yeah, he got Lukaku on loan, and I think even then he wanted Demba Ba, and we were offered Lukaku. That's come out since then that we didn't actually want.
I thought we were in for Bar, and Lukaku was meant to go to West Brom.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and obviously Gareth Barry was the only one you could turn around and go, you know what? No one who saw that thought that was going to be as good as it was, and it was. So you get credit to all the flops to him. You got to give him credit for one. And the Lukaku loan, even if he had nothing to do with it, and the Barry deal, you've got to give him those. But then he did let himself down badly. Like everyone throws Nias at him. McGeezy's another one. You know, Atsu, Alcaraz, Bezic, yeah. Didn't mind Bezic at the time, no. Didn't mind Bezic at the time, no, because he was an half decent buy and he was quite cheap. So I don't throw Bezic at him as that's terrible. It's not his fault that he's still here years after Martinez has left. But yeah, he's still got a lot more losses in his column than he's got wins.
Joey, we always got on about just after the Sheikhs took over Man City and they signed Robinho, just after Machine took over Everton, the first signing was Nias.
Yeah, he threw a 5-year contract onto Luke Garbett as well. Remember?
Oh,
which he's only just left from.
Who?
Ooh. You know, not Luke's fault. You are going to take it, aren't you? But it's just a bad manager, mate. A terrible manager.
God,
nice, lovely fella, great fella, but terrible manager.
I was having an argument with someone today who said his recruitment was good. I mean, he said Steve Walsh ruined it all and Martinez knew what he was doing and went, all right, blocked.
Jesus. No, Martinez he's a good manager. I think he's got the right tactics. I think
Martinez has got the right tactics.
Well, he does try and coach teams and he tries to play a possession game, and it's good when you've got a very talented squad like the Belgian squad he's got now. But he can only ever manage international football. If there's recruitment involved, he's absolutely appalling.
There's only one aspect of management that he's world class at, and it's interviews before and after games.
Oh yeah, what?
He will talk your knickers off. He's got the gift of the gab, but he's crap at everything else. He absolutely ruins Everton for yonks. Not as much as the ones who followed him, I don't think, but he ruins Everton for yonks. And people still like him now because he just talks glowingly about us whenever he gets the chance. And even me, when we was talking about Calvert-Lewin before the England game, I was like, great fella, crap coach. Well, that's what I mean. He's, he is a coach. He's not like just some fella in the pub. If you're just your mate, I'm sure he'd be sound, but you shouldn't be in charge of football clubs.
Honestly,
It's our fault anyway. As soon as we put a banner on him outside of the ground, that was it. He was finished.
That was literally the death knell, wasn't it?
What were you saying?
That was the case. No, I was just saying, after that first season, he was probably the worst manager I've ever seen in history. He was garbage. Craig Shakespeare taking the kids to Cyprus was better, honestly, anyone but him.
Yeah, Martinez's third season was the lowest of the low. I genuinely think Martinez's third season was even worse than Silva towards the end. Silva was cursed with a lot of bad luck, things went against him, last minute fucking, goals and stuff like that. All right, most of it was him as well, but there were some things that weren't him, which contributed towards him losing his job. Martinez was all him. We were beaten. How many goals were we beating West Ham by? And then he brought Nias on.
I was just about to say that.
Lukaku put a pen off Baines and missed it, and then they scored 3.
Honest to God, just never take me back to that cavalier, no tactics, play the right way, nonsense football. I never want to see it again. Just get it away.
We want to stay under Carlo Ancelotti, or as FIFA have designed him, Paul Hollywood.
But we're going to have to go back, and Terry's going to love this because we're going to finish this one with 2 potential signings from January 2018 when a certain Sam Allardyce was the manager.
The half-green days.
Just as we were talking about at the start of this show, Troy Deeney.
Troy Deeney. Oh, wow.
When we desperately needed a striker, and we ended up going for Tosin. But back in December 2017, when Allardyce had just taken over, Troy Deeney was the man, apparently.
They both run like they've got a fridge on the back.
Mate, honestly, if we'd have given him the power, imagine the state of us now. He was never staying. Like, in hindsight, he was never staying. But he was acting as if he was. And, myself and probably many others were petrified that because I was worried Mashiri was going to be taken in by these media knobheads. Like, he's done a good job. He's got them 8. He's done all this going. Can you imagine us if he was picking the players that summer? We'd have had Deeney up front. We'd have had Jack Wilshere in midfield. We'd have had Phil Jones at the back. We'd have been the worst football entity ever.
And along with Troy Deeney, Jones, we could have had, because he was linked in this window as well. This is the other name who was on this list. Steven Nzonzi.
Do you know what? He's not bad. He wouldn't have been what we needed at that time, but he was linked because he played for Allardyce at Blackburn, hadn't he? And he'd gone away and he'd done well, abroad, and he's in the France team now. That one wouldn't have been as, vomit-inducing as like Deeney and Wilshere and Phil Jones. And can you imagine the Brexit team? Yeah. Imagine that gammon team we'd have with him in charge. I'd have spewed the footy. If we'd have stuck with Allardyce and he'd have brought in all them, I'd have just absolutely give up. I'd have just gone, nah, I can't. Who didn't see it due to the edits. Owen's dropped out and come back in. Just saying the state of the gammon team Allardyce would have put together. We'd have had like Deeney and Wilshere and Phil Jones and Welbeck and we'd have just have had the shittest team ever.
That's proper A-house football, isn't it?
Oh, it would have just... We'd have had Paul Mason on the coaching staff, everything. Absolutely horrendous. I said I could say it again for those at the back, I couldn't take losing, I can take that. I just don't want to hate my own team, and I would have probably hated my own team if we had all them players that Allardyce wanted to have. He'd have signed people off like Soccer Aid, wouldn't he? Like any of the, get them in, they'll do a good job. Yeah.
Usain Bolt's got pace, let's give him a go.
They signed Ollie Mayers or someone like that.
Oh my God. Mark Wright to play at left back. But honestly...
Jeremy Lynch.
Oh God, yeah, Jeremy Lynch.
I don't know if you could hear me before because I think my mic went out, but he wanted to sign Aaron Cresswell. Imagine Aaron Cresswell over Luca Dean.
He's a cop-out as well, Aaron Cresswell.
Kevin Nolan would have been bloody second striker still. Oh. I say people know I don't have an issue with Sam Allardyce's style of management. I don't think he's a bad manager, but them signings would have just ended me.
He would have to bought Cresswell, Deeney, Welbeck, Phil Jones, Wilshere. Wilshere he would have definitely got. When West Ham got Wilshere, we'd have been all over that. He'd have loved that. He'd have thought, oh yeah, can build a team around him. You're like, oh.
Or as Richard Key said in his blog the other week, proper blokes like Troy Deeney. We'd have sounded a load of proper blokes.
Proper blokes, yeah. I don't think James Rodriguez is what you need, Troy. You need
proper blokes
like Troy Deeney, like characters like Jack Yelker.
Read it. Proper blokes.
Richard Key. Where's he get all this crap from? And the best one was Joe right after we just given a real
Can you imagine Finch Farm, free to port all these people having a shake with the cubicle door open and that?
Honestly.
It would have been horrendous.
Remember after that derby where we gave a good account of ourselves, obviously Pickford threw it in the net at the last minute. Like, he threw the Anfield derby under Allardyce, so if you're going backwards,
oh, God.
Oh, God.
Proper blokes.
And we
was trying to screw us over when he left. Because when he was on TalkSport before Ancelotti, he was bigging up Eddie Howe for the job, so we were still trying to screw us over with them.
I get a Solanke and Jordan 9.
Phil Jones.
Mate, he'd have had that team. He'd have had Paul Mason and the coaching staff.
He's got brought Dan Gosling back, hasn't he?
Oh.
Jack Roswell on his pay-to-play deal.
Mate, it's almost like I want someone to run a simulation on Football Manager with that team and Allardyce as the manager and see how we get on. We'll be in the National League within a few years.
I'd say it put down to Terry's theory of the wheel and the Hadron Collider, but then again, we also have Carlo Ancelotti now, so, swings him round, perhaps.
Hey, never mind having Greta Steinton as a scout, he'd have been on right back.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Just add a little bit of a continental flair with Ivan Campo.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, there you have it. Thank God we didn't have any longer with Sam Allardyce. I was going to say thank God we didn't get Sam Allardyce, but unfortunately we did. We got rid of him quickly enough. Thank God we didn't end up with Jack Wilshere at Everton. Thank Christ for that. Anyway, guys, let us know your opinions on these rumours that we've gone through in this show, and drop us a comment. Give this video a like and subscribe for more great content as we laugh about potential Sam Allardyce signings of yesteryear. And until next time, guys, thank you for watching on the Toffee Blues.